Coming to terms with change may actually be harder than change itself. In some cases, in my case, it wasn't, but in some cases, coming to terms with change is difficult because if you've got strong revenue and you are happy with your profit, and historically it's been that way, and the outlook for this year and maybe next year is very, very similar, then what is the incentive to change? There probably really isn't any, other than, well, what does 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road look like? Now, as a business owner or as somebody in a multi-generational family business, it's very likely that you are familiar or accustomed with change or an evolving organization, which is a good and healthy thing. And it's a sign that an organization is alive and not just stagnant. But actually instigating that change, what this channel is all about is to help you drive that change forward. And really step number one is coming to terms with it. So in this video, we're going to talk about 6 ways that you can come to terms with that change and help you understand where your business is going a little bit better. So the first thing is you got to ask yourself, is my business sustainable for the next 10 years? Now, I don't know many multi-generational family businesses that are in the AI space. There's probably some that are going into that space. But if you are AI or you're tech, your outlook may be significantly shorter, something like 10 months. But for most businesses, if you're looking forward to the next generation and how do I set this up successfully, or how do I transition this successfully to the next generation, you have to look at that long-term picture and ask yourself, is this sustainable? So it's got to be all-encompassing. You got to look at your business model. You got to look at your people, your processes, your systems. You really have to look inward and understand, is the way that I'm doing business now the way that I'm going to be doing business in 10 or 20 years? In our case, it was the build hour. We implement construction accounting software, construction project management software, and estimating software. And historically, we would say, yeah, it's going to be 100 hours at $200 an hour. And, here's your estimate. And we could go over that. And really, it was never in the customer's best interest. Your customer's interest is to use less hours because they pay us less. And it's in our interest to bill them more because we make more, et cetera, right? So, but we fundamentally knew that the way people consumed information was completely different than it was back in the 80s and 90s and even up into the mid to late 2000s. And everything was driving online. It's on YouTube, just like you're watching this video right now. So we knew that our fundamental business model had to change. The second thing you have to ask yourself is, am I familiar with my processes and systems? Meaning, if you look at your organization chart, could you do the job of everybody on there? Now, the likelihood is that no, you're not going to be able to do every single job that's on there because you hire people that are better at doing certain things. But if you look at your organization chart, does every position make sense? In our case, a lot of times when you're in a legacy business model, you're hiring for growth. So you're hiring business development associates or service personnel, and you're just it's just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And so if you're looking at your organization chart and you're like, what does that person do? Then it's a good sign that you probably need to instigate some change in your organization. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be an expert, by the way, in all of those seeds, because you shouldn't be. But you do have to have a good fundamental reason. And if you don't know the answer, go ask your team. Hey, why do we have 4 levels of service department techs? Why do we have XYZ? In many cases, we see founders or owners or second generation to third generation, or those types of folks who they've been absent from the organization, or they're more in an advisory role, even though they actually hold that owner or president role. And so a lot of times you may not be familiar with why these folks were hired, there could be an absolute, a good solid reason that they're there. But also there's probably some streamlining if you're layers and layers deep and you just don't understand what that role does. The third thing is, and this is my favorite, am I doing the same thing as my competitors? Okay. So I used to own an advertising business, and when we went in to pitch, what we would do is we would take their logo and we'd put it on their competitor's website. And we'd ask them one simple question. Notice anything that's different? And of course they'd come by and they'd say, well, that's not our font or those aren't our colors. But yeah, for the most part, it looks all right. And when we did the reveal, it was so shocking that we oftentimes wouldn't even win the business, or we would delay the business significantly because they realized that they didn't have a marketing problem. Okay. So it's one of my favorite exercises. So go do that. Take your logo, put it on your competitor's website, and let me know your results down in the comments. Are they exactly the same? Because the biggest red flag is that externally, your website, your biggest externally facing asset, if that's the same as your next competitor and their competitor or your next 5 competitors, then it is time to change because you aren't being different. You're not differentiating yourself. And again, yes, we can tweak some things in marketing and make some marketing magic happen, but the investment that you're going to make in marketing is going to be a complete waste because you're going to come to the end of the line and realize that it wasn't marketing in the first place. It was your proven process, which is my next thing. So the next thing is do I have a proven process? Now, a lot of you probably just said, yeah, oh, absolutely. I totally have a proven process. Yes, we when somebody comes in, we do all of these things. I'm not talking about a process book or a step-by-step guide on how to do things. A proven process is a tried and true methodology that's backed by positive customer reviews, that is repeatable, unique, and followed by all. Those things have to be in place. Now, I'm going to use a lot of EOS terminology in here because I believe in EOS as a tool to help your business get more organized and actually kind of dumb it down for you, because a lot of times we like to overcomplicate things when in reality, we don't need to. So, but the proven process is something that is so critically important, especially in this day and age, because your competition is coming at you from every angle. There's a startup tomorrow that could eat your lunch in 5 years. So you have to be on top of your proven process, and we'll get a little bit more into that. If you're not sure what a proven process is, the best example that I can give is if you've seen the movie The Founder. Ray Kroc is not buying the McDonald's brand. He's not buying the food. I mean, he's obviously had that type of food all over the place, right? What he's buying is the McDonald's brothers' proven process, the Speedy system. And to put it simply, it's a method to deliver fast, reliable, and standardized food to customers. Well, there's a proven process right there. And so McDonald's, when you buy that product, you're not buying you're not buying it because it's, the best thing since sliced bread. You're buying it because you know exactly what you're going to get. And that's because of their proven process. The fifth thing is that you have to ask yourself, is my proven process unique? Okay. Now, in our case, our proven process is unique. We've developed a system that trains and educates customers on medium to large business accounting software and project management software, all in the cloud, all at their own pace. It's a proven process to get them 0 to live on the product. So you have to have this. This is most apparent in really big brands. So I mentioned McDonald's, but Nike and Apple are the same way. You know what you're getting with an iPhone. And the best thing that you can do for your company is to make it your proven process so refined and so unique and so repeatable and just absolutely adhered by all, that eventually people just think of you as, you got to go to these guys. I mean, you buy it from and it's just amazing, right? So And you may say, well, I don't know what Apple's proven process is. Well, the best companies, you don't even know what their proven process is because they're delivering it to you consistently with the end product. The sixth thing, and this is really the final thing, is you have to, is my proven process followed by all? Now, this is the hardest step, okay? Because when we transitioned, we had 90% turnover in our staff. And I wish that everyone could avoid that. And most of you, I think, will be able to. We had staff that were major contributors to our company over a long period of time. They were fantastic at what they did, but they just didn't want to change. And so they either self-selected, which means they quit, or they were asked to leave, which means they were fired. And that 90% turnover, boy, if you're staring at it in the face, it's tough. Man, if you're probably listening like, I mean, that's most people's reaction to the 90% turnover stat is like, wow, that's massive. And I always felt guilty for a long time about, I didn't want to say that because I always felt guilty about that turnover rate. But when you have folks who get your process, who have developed that process with you, who have been hand in hand, who they see the vision and they say, yes, we're with you lockstep of the way. And they carry that through, and you actually have a proven process that's followed by all. There is no better way of doing business. You just have to ask yourself those simple questions. But before you go, I want you to do one thing. I want you to write all of these questions down. So number one is my business sustainable for the next 10 years or whatever your long-term outlook is? Number two, am I familiar with my processes and systems? Could I sit down and do the role of every single person in my organization? Number three, am I doing the same thing as my competitors? Number four, do I have a proven process? Number five, is my proven process unique? And then the last one is my proven process followed by all? So before I let you go though, take those questions and book that vacation you've always wanted to book. Book that long weekend. Get away from your business. Take some time off. I know that you may be at rock bottom right now. You may be at wit's end. You may be, really like this change has got to happen tomorrow. But take some time off to reflect on these questions and come back better composed, because if you fail at delivering your vision, or if you fail at, effectively communicating your vision, it can be a detriment to the whole process. So you've got to work on yourself. If you're anything like me, you're your harshest critic, you're your number one driver, you're the gas, you're the engine, you're the route planner, you're everything. And if you do not take care of yourself, it's going to lead to you abusing alcohol. It's going to lead to you abusing, relationships, whatever it may be. But you have to be put in a position, and that's, again, worst case scenario, but it can lead to that very, very quickly. So work on yourself, because if you don't work on yourself, your team is never going to be able to get on board. Thank you, and hey, make it a great one.